Good morning from Witcher Math. Let me get my coffee out of the way. This happened in class yesterday, and I wrote it down because I thought it was a very good question and it was worth answering in a little bit of detail for everybody out there. So, 2/3 times x equals 4 was a problem that came up, and a couple questions I got about this was, what do I do to solve it? Is this multiplying or dividing? Because we were learning about solving with inverse operations. Inverse ops. I'm going to abbreviate it here, meaning if we have an addition of a single variable one-step equation, if we see addition, we solve by subtraction, and the other way around. Those are inverse operations, things that undo each other. And we also learned, and this applies to this problem, that if we see multiplication, we solve by dividing, and if we see dividing, we solve by multiplying. So back to our question from the student, is this multiplying or dividing? And the answer is yes. Here's what I mean by that. It just depends on how that little voice in your head says this. So 2/3, you might say 2/3 times x equals 4. You might say 2/3 of x is 4. That is a slightly different way of thinking of it, but it means the same thing. And so if we're thinking this is multiplication, let's take this to a simple example. What if it just said 2x equals 4? You would say, oh, that's multiplying, so I'm going to solve by dividing both sides by the coefficient of x, which makes the coefficient of x into a 1. Believe it or not, at this point, there is a 1 there, right? You see 1x, so the coefficient is 1. 1x is 2, and that's our goal, is to isolate or have a single variable on one side. Okay, let's take that back to this problem. So we have a fraction coefficient, and if we just follow the same pattern and trust it, once again we have 1x, but then on the other side it doesn't really look any better, does it? So I recommend thinking of it in a different way, but let's go ahead and follow through on this one. A whole number 4 is like having 4 on top of a 1. And if we're dividing it by 2/3, you might recognize this from a while ago in class when we see fraction division. We learned how to flip and multiply. And we also learned how to cross simplify. Both of those are topics in different videos. So I'm assuming you got that. And we get 6, which means 2/3 of 6 is 4. Let's show that with a picture, and then I'll show you a different way to think about it and solve it. 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's say we have this picture. Let's call that thing 6. Let's split it into 3 pieces. 3 equal pieces. That's how we get thirds. Let me switch colors. This is getting, even though red is exciting, it gets boring after a while, just like anything else. Each 1/3 equals what? 2. Each 1/3 is 2. So 2/3 two of those three pieces. Remember, we're pretending now like we do not know the answer is 6. This is just x. Something, we're labeling it as x, split into 3 equal pieces is 4. So if we count all 3 pieces, 2, 4, 6, there we go, x equals 6. So we can use a simple picture on a problem like this with small numbers. We can divide both sides, treat it like multiplication, divide both sides by the coefficient of x, which then causes us to have a division problem on the right side. But then we flip and multiply and do a little simplifying ahead of time, and it just comes down to 2 times 3 equals 6. But what if, here's another way you could think about this. So now it is both multiplication and division, which is also what that was. Now it starts to sound like everything's mushing together, but this means 2 times x divided by 3. And you already know what the answer is, but let's just show you how thinking of it in a different way, if it suits you, if it suits your mathematical needs, this might be a better way of thinking about it. So if we're multiplying, we just turn this into a 2-step problem. First of all, we're dividing by 3. So double x divided by 3 equals 4. So the inverse operation of that is we multiply both sides by 3, which there I get that 1, but the 1 is actually still a 2 here because this was 2x divided by 3. Now it's a 2-step equation. Uh-oh. There we go. 2 times x equals 12. Now it's multiplying, and now if I divide by 2, I get x equals 6, which we already knew. But check this out. So I've got this fraction up here, and then we changed it into a 2-step equation. First we multiplied by 3. This is so clever. We multiplied by 3, then we divided by 2. And if we put that next to our original, what does that look like, you crazy math people? Those are reciprocals, which takes us back to our original problem, which means if I multiply both sides by the reciprocal of coefficient, we're done, right? Both sides, and once again, x still equals 6. So now we've got, back to the top, is this multiplying or dividing? Yes, it's multiplying and dividing, or it's multiplying or dividing. Your choice. We have pictures that show one way of thinking about it. We can divide by fractions, which is another way of doing it, or we can multiply by the reciprocal on both sides. We get the same answer every time, which means they're all good. Maybe you have your own strategy and should make your own video. Hey, how about that? I will see you later. Thanks for watching. Hope this helped.